A man brought his selfie stick to Tulum and was brutally scammed.
They asked me to go back to pay for a permit for a selfie stick.
You need a permit for your selfie stick, my friend.
This seemed pretty unnecessary to me.
It pains me to admit it, but Tulum has become a total scam. Let's react to a video by CR Pro Maps that says, I paid and they denied me the use of the facilities. They asked me to pay for a tour. In this video, the YouTuber shares his awful experience in Tulum. Step by step, you'll see what a disaster it is to visit that destination. Pay attention.
The first problem I noticed was precisely the bus ride on ADO from Playa del Carmen to Tulum. Although traveling by bus is affordable, you'll quickly realize that it won't be a direct trip and it will take you longer than usual to get to Tulum. The bus first makes several stops at the different Xcaret parks, which makes the trip much longer and slower. Keep this in mind. If, like me, you're only in Tulum for a day, it could delay your plans.
Of course, look, taking a bus is the most decent option because you have two choices. Either go by bus or go with the taxi drivers. And we already know that the taxi drivers in Tulum are criminals. They're scammers. They are people who charge you $100 for a short trip between the airport and downtown. The problem with taking the bus is that, of course, it's not a direct route. So you'll have to wait a long time to get to downtown. And besides, you arrive downtown. They drop you off at a certain point, but then what do? You still have to get to your hotel. Obviously, you can take an Uber to your hotel and it would still be much cheaper than taking a taxi from the airport to your hotel. Just so you know, taking the bus can take a long time to reach your destination.
Second, there's no ADO station or base near the Mayan ruins. When you arrive at your destination, the bus drops you off right on the highway. They drop you off exactly where the people offering tours approach you. As you saw in the video about the costs of Tulum, they offered me the tour. 1,000 pesos more expensive compared to the price of the same tour when you're already at the beach.
They're scammers, and if you notice, the people from ADO are associated with them. Incredible. But we need to clarify something important. Being left in the middle of the road doesn't just happen in Mexico. For example, in Europe, Flixbus does this a lot. Flixbus is a very famous and well-known bus company in Europe. It's common for them to leave you in the middle of the road, depending on the city and available facilities, since some places have a station. But what I mean is that it's not exclusive to Mexico for these kinds of buses to leave you in the middle of the road. Now, what is obviously not right is the fact that they are associated with these scammers who sell tours at excessive prices.
Then, number 3, the 800-meter walk. To get to the ticket booths, you have to walk 800 meters through the jungle. However, for elderly people or those with a disability, it could be difficult for them. Also, some of the lines did take more than 40 minutes standing. The Mayan ruins are not inclusive at all. They don't have easy access for everyone. After the walk, number 4, you have to stand in 3 different lines to pay for 3 different things.
3 different lines to pay for 3 different things. They are completely crazy.
Not to mention that in my case, they asked me to come back to pay for a permit for a selfie stick.
You need a permit for your selfie stick, buddy, to be able to enter.
I found this pretty unnecessary.
Let's see. There are mainly 3 things we need to mention here. The first is about accessibility. Yes, I think it's really far to walk 800 meters to get to the facilities. It seems a bit excessive to me. Now, about whether the Mayan ruins are inclusive or not. Honestly, they're Mayan ruins. You can't really demand that they be inclusive or anything like that. They're Mayan ruins. They're ancient, it's totally normal and understandable. That's just how they are, uncomfortable. Next, let's talk about having to stand in 3 separate lines to pay for 3 items. It doesn't make any sense, but it's typical of Mexico. I mean, the typical absurd and ridiculous Latin American bureaucracy. I'm not surprised. The third point is the selfie stick issue, which is another scam. They know many people bring selfie sticks, so they charge extra for them. It's just another way to keep robbing and scamming tourists. Period. That's the reality.
It should be a single payment with clear and visible costs.
But that's precisely why the costs aren't clear or visible. So they can steal more from you and squeeze out every last cent.
The permit covers the entire day, regardless of what you visit.
Also, if you're just going to the beach, the entrance should be completely free.
Obviously, but well, you're in Tulum.
Number 5. They don't allow any food or any plastic. If you want to bring water into the park, you have to bring your own aluminum bottle. I had patiently put up with all of that before because it was my first time visiting Tulum. But it wasn't until we got to this 6th checkpoint that I really got upset. Number 6. The boatman from the tour made the use of the facilities conditional. When we arrived at the beach, a boatman immediately approached us to promote the tours they offer there, to see the Mayan ruins from the sea. I asked him if I could sit for a moment on some benches by the beach to change my sneakers for sandals. And he answered that those benches are reserved for people who book the tour. That's what they had been told.
That's not true. That's the problem. That it was a lie. Of course he could sit on those benches.
Which I later realized was a complete lie. The benches and cubicles are free to use for anyone who has already paid the expensive entrance fee to Jaguar Park. All the cubicles were empty and they didn't let me use any of them unless I booked the tour.
And they do this so you'll book the tour. I mean, all they're looking for is anyway, any excuse, any method to make you book the tour.
Number 7. The tip is not optional. In the video about how much Tulum really costs, I showed you all the real expenses, and as you could see, they're not cheap at all. However, what's truly alarming is that the tip is not optional. Here, at Paraíso Beach Club, the tip is already printed and included on the bill with the total cost of the beach club consumption.
It's daylight robbery, but I'm not surprised.
Around 2,000 pesos for 3 people, 3 meals, and 3 drinks. It's well known that Tulum is way too expensive.
He paid $100. For those who aren't from Mexico, this guy paid $100, maybe a little more.
It's a shame how many negative comments there are about one of the most beautiful places in Mexico and even in the world. Such a beautiful place shouldn't be monopolized by just a few people. It should be shared with everyone, including national tourists, elderly people, and those with limited mobility. The problem isn't just about big investors and businessmen. Proper treatment starts with the service provider who approaches you when you arrive. We've all noticed that domestic tourists are already tired of being treated badly. Currently, Tulum is empty, but we should remember that it's low season, and in a way, it's normal to see it like this in October.
The images are from the month of February. But yes, the problem is that in Tulum they see tourists as ATMs with infinite money and try to get as much money from them as possible. And tourists end up with an unpleasant experience. They leave with a bad taste in their mouths and think, hey, I'm not coming back here. They also start leaving bad reviews and say, hey, in Tulum, Cancun, and Playa del Carmen. They scam you. From the moment you arrive at the airport, some taxi drivers greet you and they're scamming you. And at every moment, they're trying to get money out of you. And that's how little by little, they manage to destroy a world-class tourist destination, just like they did with Acapulco back in the day. So we'd really like to know what you think and what your opinions are about all of this. Simply ridiculous, a daylight robbery. And just so you can see that the experience of someone who went to Tulum for just one day was unpleasant, and the guy was only there for a day. That says it all. Guys, see you next time.